Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here, or you've been here before but haven't subscribed yet, today's the day to do it. We are steamrolling towards 6,000 subscribers. It'd be great if you could join us in this endeavor. Also, please hit the thumbs up button and drop your comments. Love the comments. All right, well, today this is an update video. There's been some news that broke out today concerning Mr. Jalen Brunson. That's right. There is growing resignation in Dallas that Jalen Brunson is heading to New York. Mark Stein reported this, New York Times, and this is actually sourced from Knicks feed. Here we go. Mark tweeted this out, wrote Friday that the Knicks had amassed major momentum in their pursuit of Jalen Brunson after draft night. There is a growing resignation in Dallas. Sources say that the Knicks are indeed Brunson's top choice and his inevitable destination. Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting. So what will this cost? That is the question. Tim McMahon tweeted this out. At this point, it's widely anticipated that Brunson will go to the Knicks on a 4-year deal in excess of $100 million. It remains to be seen how New York will clear the rest of the necessary cap space and whether the Mavs can work a sign and trade to recoup that. I'm going to get into that. Let's discuss Jalen Brunson himself. I mean, the guy is obviously a tremendous player in the paint. There's no doubt about that. He's always been a winner. He was a winner at Villanova. I mean, he's a winner with Dallas. They went to basically the Western Conference Finals. They reached the Final Four in the NBA. But the question becomes, when you start paying him in excess of $100 million, we're talking north of $25 million. So, which means that Dallas won't match that. They won't try to get near that. They were trying to get like a deal that whatever they're offering, I'm sure factors in the fact that there's no state income tax in Texas. But it still seems like they're going to be short. So it seems like if all things were equal, Brunson would rather be a Knick, which is nice to hear. It's nice to hear that someone who wants to be a Knick, especially a guy who's a winner. Now, some of my issues with him is that defensively he's lacking. He's small, but the man can get into the paint and he finishes at a tremendous clip. For his 2-point average for his career, he's averaging 54.4%. And last season he averaged 54.5%. The season before was his all-time high, 57.8%. Almost 58% of his attempts, his 2-point attempts, he completes. That's fantastic. The negative is, unless the Knicks get rid of Randall, and if they do bring back Mitch Robinson, who, Mitch is not a 5 that's, hangs out on the perimeter, like some of the guys that Brunson's been playing with. So that means floor spacing is going to be an issue. There's going to be congestion, especially when you consider RJ likes to drive. But RJ, of course, has a 3-point shot, and hopefully he'll be able to revert back to his 2020-21 type of efficiency. 39% would be really nice to get from RJ. But Randall, we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know what's going to happen with Randall. That was an outlier year. He really is not a good 3-point shooter, and his mid-range game totally left him, and even his finishing at the rim game left him. But what does he like to do? He likes to hover around the paint. He likes to be able to drive into the paint. So, if we're going to bring in Brunson, we have to move on from Randall. I mean, we have to move on from Randall regardless. But if we're definitely going to pay this guy top 40 type salary range, he's going to be in the top 40 right now because he's going to get about $27.5 million is what I'm predicting. I'm predicting he's going to be 110 for 4 years because you got to factor in the tax, New York State income tax. Now, he, for his career, has only averaged 2.7 3-point field goal attempts per game. That's it. 2.7. So about 3 field goal attempts per game is what he averages for his career. And he completes it, though, at a nice clip, 37.3%. And interestingly, that's his career numbers. Last season, he actually completed at the exact number, 37.3%, at a slightly higher 3.2 attempts per game. That's really not enough to help that floor spacing. So there's going to be some issues here. There's going to be some issues here that the Knicks are going to have to address. Let's go to the next slide here. So here, this is an interesting thing that Ian Begley reported today. And if you guys haven't seen his video on this, you guys should check it out. Basically, it was reported, those members of the organization have said that they see Brunson as an important potential addition to their process. but they aren't of the belief that he would singularly turn the franchise around. Members of the Knicks don't view Brunson as a potential franchise-altering savior. Yeah, well, no one does. But he's going to be paid as a number two on a winning team. That's what he's going to be paid. And when you look at what the final 8 teams that were in the playoffs last year, would Brunson be the number 2 on any of those teams except for Dallas? The answer is clearly no. But we're about to pay him like he is one. So these are things we have to factor in. You know, I'm on record saying I don't believe it's worth the money. However, he definitely will be a nice upgrade. Absolutely. I mean, considering what we've had at point guard the past couple of seasons, mostly because of Thibodeau's stubbornness. But, you know, we had Elfrid Payton in 2020-21. And then last year, Kemba Walker started out and then he got replaced by Burks. So frustrating. So that'll be a relief. However, we're paying a lot of money for him. If we can do this without having to do a sign and trade that actually costs us any assets of real value to us, that hurts a little less. And this can be but it does seem like Dallas is just going to let him walk. That's what we're starting to hear grumblings of it. Though I have a feeling at the last minute they're going to pivot. They're going to pivot and ask for some assets and try to work out a sign and trade. If the sign and trade happens in the form where the Knicks can get rid of some salary, Noel is not going there. I'm going to talk about Burks and Noel because that's how they're going to open cap space. Noel's not going to go there because of that weird history with Dallas in the past when he was there, and now he's suing his former agent and all that. So who knows? It doesn't seem like Dallas is going to be interested in doing something like that. But Burks could be an interesting player for Dallas, though I highly doubt it because there's interest elsewhere on Burks. And actually, let's get to that. But before we get to that, here's a little update. Tommy Beer tweeted this out. Per this report from Spurs Talk, San Antonio Spurs News tweeted this out, that the Atlanta Hawks are trying to trade for San Antonio Spurs all-star Dejounte Murray. And then here's the latest info. And Tommy Beer tweeted this out on top of it. San Antonio's asking price for Dejounte Murray is 4 first-round draft picks with little to no protections. So those 3 draft picks we picked up in 2023 are useless in terms of this. Alternatively, the Spurs want 3 minimally protected first-rounders and 2 unprotected first-round pick swaps. So the deal might be getting too rich for the Knicks, might be getting tricky for the Knicks. However, the Knicks still have 22 picks. There's a possibility that maybe the Knicks can work some deals out and have those protections softened. So they're minimally protected. They can reach into the minimally protected range, and possibly there's even a slight rumor that the Knicks will go for both Brunson and Dejounte Murray, which would be pretty wild. Pretty wild, especially for this front office that has done little to nothing in terms of trades and acquisitions in the past couple of years, other than signing Burks and Fournier and Kemba and making the D Rose trade, which is still the best trade yet so far for these Knicks. So this is something interesting to keep an eye on. The price has gone up for Dejounte. Now here, how are the Knicks going to free up cap space? Well, here's the thing. Burks. Okay, now here, the Celtics are among several teams that have expressed interest in trading for Burks. Good news. That is very good news. The Knicks can get roughly $25 million if they trade Burks or Nerlans Noel and don't take back any salary. So they trade one of those two, they can get up into around the $25 million range. Several teams, including the Boston Celtics, have a degree of interest in trading for Burks, per sources. Several teams, including the Nets and Toronto Raptors, have levels of interest in trading for Noel, for Nerlans, per SNY sources. The other team is the Los Angeles Clippers, also have some interest in Noel, a source said, confirming a Real GM report. And check this out. The Nets, their interest in Noel would presumably be dependent on what happens with Nick Claxton. Teams monitoring Claxton's market expect that he will remain in Brooklyn. So maybe the Nets won't be an actual customer for Nerlens, but there are teams that are interested in these two. Now, here's something that's interesting about the situation. If the Knicks were able to offload Burks, Noel, and they already offloaded Kemba, and they were able to offload Taj, they could potentially have $33.5 million available for them. That's how much cap space they could have available. That starts becoming an interesting number. Now there's also Cam Reddish, so that number could even go up a little higher if they really want to be aggressive in these sign-in trades or in just outright in signing free agents outright. So bear that and keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. You can see Noel could fit into the Clippers' $9.7 million trade exception. Traded player exception is what they have, previously generated by the Serge Ibaka trade. The Knicks have a surplus of draft pick compensation. This is from Empire Sports Media. 22 picks, as I mentioned before. The Clippers are looking at Noel as an option to replace Isaiah Hartenstein. The Clippers could only re-sign Hartenstein using their $6.4 million taxpayer mid-level exception, but they are now going to use that to sign John Wall after his buyout with the Houston Rockets. So, that's nice. It's nice to have options. So it's a possibility that these contracts that have been a bit of negative contracts for us, except for the Burks one. That's a net neutral contract. But some of these other ones, like the Nerlans one, it's possible that we're going to get out from one. And you look, Nerlans is an excellent backup center. He provides tremendous rim protection, and he's all over the court. So he could be an interesting player. He's a very good defensive center. That could be a nice addition for the Clippers. Something else that got reported today is the Knicks are considering converting Jericho Sims' two-way contract to a standard deal. That's nice. Good news. Good for him. He deserves it. I think he has tremendous promise. But it brings me to another thing. Mitch. What are the Knicks going to do with Mitch? We got 2 days. You can't be offloading Nerlans if you're not definitely going to sign Mitch. We're going to have a real issue in the center position if that's the case. Now, maybe there's some other options that they're looking at that hasn't been reported yet, hasn't been leaked yet. But the one thing that we did find out is that the Knicks and Mitch's team they're getting closer to working out a deal. So the 4 for 56 was the original idea. I think it's going to be between 4 for 48 and 4 for 56, somewhere in that range. So if we sign him, and then we got to do that soon, because at some point he's going to be completely unrestricted and he can get onto the marketplace. Now maybe the Knicks are thinking, we can offer that 5th year as a difference. I think that is the situation there. But either way, we can't get caught without a center, without a high-quality center, a high-quality rim-protecting center in this game. Now, obviously, I would prefer if Mitch stepped outside, took a couple three-pointers once in a while, even took a little baby jumper, anything, Mitch, anything. I want you on this team, but you have to expand your offensive arsenal, just the way it has to be. It just has to be that way. If you watch the way the teams that actually got deep into the playoffs, they all had centers that could do something offensively or that didn't clog up the paint on the offensive end, which is really the most important thing. Floor spacing. 5 out. Sometimes teams just play totally 5 out like Dallas does. All right. Well, I think I've covered everything. Thank you so much for watching this. This was an update here. And I will, if something news drops, I'll drop more videos. So please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you get alerted when I actually drop these videos. Hit that thumbs up button for me and drop your comments. And I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.